So he goes back to the couch to mope and drink his whiskey, and the kid comes out again, and he's kind of telling him, I guess I just, lost my cool or whatever, and then some shit goes down. But during this time, while this is kind of while we get this cat and mouse here, isn't this when she gets the phone call?
Yeah, the guy that owned the land that they were on, which like you get a glimpse of when they're leaving. He's on like a four-wheeler, calls her and asks her, what's going on with her kid. Is he acting different? Yada yada yada. And lets her know that's basically like that's not your kid.
Yeah, and she doesn't fucking believe him because I don't know if I would believe him either. I mean, he hasn't been. I don't know. I think she kind of does, but at the same time, I'd be in denial about something like that too. Well, this is where she starts looking it up because the guy calls him. What's he call him? A changeling.
Yeah, they're
which is a type of troll. A type of troll that can change their appearance. Yeah, I've heard of them before.
Yeah.
This is not the story I expected to get, and it's pretty cool. We even get a glimpse of the kid who's laying in bed. As a changeling through like the glass, and it's pretty
the reflection in the window.
Looking.
Yeah,
it is pretty. It's pretty good. I mean, like his eyes are lit up. And stuff. It's good stuff.
Did you catch the part two, like where he was crawling on the ceiling?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, there's a part where the dad's like sitting. Yeah, the dad's like sitting on the couch or something, I think, and. He's drinking his whiskey and that. I think he's watching TV, looking at the tree, something. And it's before he goes in to check on the kid. You see him crawling along the ceiling in the kitchen.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I need to watch again for the 50th time.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy.
Which I will. Yeah, I have to tell you, man, this, like I said, this entire story right here is off the wall. It's not what I would expect from something like this. But it turns out to be pretty cool. Anyway, long story short on the dad and cat and mouse story, Daddy gets killed and can't really tell exactly what happened. It looks like he killed him with the belt, doesn't it? The changeling killed his ass with the belt.
Yeah, he like
strangled him or something, and then he cut him up.
Yeah.
Because then she calls the guy back, or she gets another call, and the guy's like, "You believe me now, don't you?" And she's like, "Yeah," and she's freaking out because she just saw this kid. Or just saw the body. And so he tells her, you got to trick him into coming with you because he'll realize that you're, he senses things. So you got to do it this way. Well, she comes in there with a baseball bat. He doesn't buy her bullshit because she's like, "You want to go for a ride?" He just tries to attack her. And she thumps a baseball bat off this thing's head, off this kid's head, is what we get. So she just incapacitates him, which I figured is where it was going anyway, because he ain't going to listen to you. You just got to knock his ass out, which is nice that she was able to accomplish that goal because he fucked up the dad, so she was lucky. She pinged off his head like the College World Series.
Yeah, I was waiting for like she gets him in the car and then he freaks out in the car, one of those crazy scenes, but they kind of bypassed that and just went right into the, knock him out in the house kind of thing and stuff him in a bag and drag him.
Yep, and they even skipped that whole process. They get right to the forest with her, and she's got the bag, and she drops him right in front of the redneck hillbilly guy, and the redneck hillbilly guy's like, "Thank you," and then he just starts kicking the shit out of this thing, locked in the bag.
Right. He's like, "They don't mess with me; they're scared of me." He's just beating the hell out of this thing.
He's like, "I wonder why." He's like, "You dumbasses don't ever listen to me." And she's like, "You said you could help me find my son." The guy's like, "I don't know where your son is," and she's pissed. Well, apparently there's changelings all around. You can hear them, and I guess you can see their eyes or something. And
yeah, you can see them after a while.
She starts getting pissed at this guy because she doesn't know where the kid is, and she overreacts just like a woman would. And she pulls a gun on the guy. And when the changeling does something, things get all topsy-turvy. She fucking shoots the guy by accident. I'm not sure the guy deserved that. Am I wrong? I don't know that she meant to, but still, I think that was a little bit much. What did he do wrong exactly?
Right, yeah, he was just trying to get them riled up and make sure they didn't get off his property and all that. Like, he couldn't really get her son back, like he said, but he was trying to at least get that thing
getting
gone.
them back.
Yeah, I don't think he shot him
on
purpose. I think it was an accidental thing, but
it was, but it almost felt like she felt like, well, fuck him. You know what I mean? It was like,
right.
That was kind of. I don't know why she felt like that was like I don't feel like he did anything that wrong, but whatever. And so this changeling walks up to her while wearing her kid's clothes, and now he's in changeling form, and he's had the shit beat out of him, and he's all bloody and stuff. And like I guess the changeling feels sorry for her because it goes into the tree where the kid where it was whenever the dad got it out, and it brings the kid out, or the kid comes out in his underwear, which it makes sense because the changeling took its clothes earlier.
Right.
And, I guess that's the end of the story. She hugs him and takes him home, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty much where it ended. That one left really open-ended. Like, there was no...
I felt like a lot of these were it was open-ended, like you said, but every one of these were open-ended except for the last one we're going to talk about here. The rest of them, I feel like there is some open end to all of them. Okay, so the chick's pregnant. Is she pregnant with some demon baby? Okay, so, the Krampus, does she turn back into a human the next day, or does she stay Krampus until the next Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It left a lot of questions. Yeah, it left a lot of questions.
But you know what? Sometimes it's okay not to answer all the questions. Okay, so for the changeling story, what do you think? What do you give the changeling story?
I gave that one a good 4. I liked that one. It was different. It was different. It started kind of slow, and at first I was kind of like, this one's going to be kind of lame. But then it picked up and was like really kind of creepy and weird at some points. And that and the little changeling guy reminded me of one of the Chuds. So I thought that was kind of cool too. I like that.
Yes. He reminded me of a ghoulie.
Yeah. So I was kind of down with that. And it didn't go the direction I thought it did, so it kind of surprised me a bit.
No, it was really cool, man. It was.
Yeah, the guy as the cop, I was kind of like, he's kind of lame. But it was, and there was points where like it actually got you involved a bit. You were like, man, I wish she would quit doing this, or man, why is he doing that? Or you can't tell that kid's not yours. What the fuck's going on? So that one kind of pulled you in a little bit. So I liked it. The story was good.
I just couldn't understand why the cop was married to somebody with the same haircut as his was. But whatever. I give it 3.5 out of 4. The kid was the only one that had really good. The only thing about this was that I didn't like the ending so much. I mean, not that it was a bad ending. It just seemed to end really quick. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it felt flat.
Yeah, the rest of the story was awesome. The changeling part creeped me the fuck out. Like, whenever you realized what he is, and then you start to see what he actually looks like, that shit was creepy. But the ending was the only thing that I'd take away, that it was a little bit weak. And I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the wife, and I didn't like the dad. So it's hard to connect to characters that you don't like. And, I kind of like the characters in the school, so they had that going for them. I didn't necessarily like the family, but I think that was the point of that one. And this one, I felt bad for the kid, though, so at least we had that.
Right. I expected more, too, like when all the changelings, you could see them in the woods and stuff. I kind of expected more out of that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was going to kind of lead into something more, and then it just, like, ended abruptly. I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay, that comes
So I just assumed they let her go. I mean, that's the thing. There just felt like it could have done a little bit more, just a little bit more, maybe about, even 30 more seconds probably would have given us a little bit more. But, again, splitting hairs, I guess. Right. And so we'll go to the last story, which is set up immediately in this whole thing, and we don't even realize it. So let's get into things. Something's wrong with Santa's elves, okay? And we realize this pretty quick because we get into Santa's workshop. And this is our Evil Dead story. That's the best I could compare it to. We get into Santa's workshop. And you got these elves working, and it's pretty typical of, like, elf or the Santa Claus, and these elves are acting like elves do. And at one point, like, this elf is just working, and he's acting kind of weird. He's stuttering over there, and Santa Claus is like, are you okay? And then Mrs. Claus comes in, and she's like, do you want some cookies? And this fucking elf goes crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want your cookie, you fucking cookie whore. Like, Jesus Christ. This elf's mad. And this elf fucking axes himself right in the hand in this blood. And I didn't notice this until today. Okay, I mean, I realized he fucked his hand up, and I realized the blood was coming out, but I didn't realize it was squirting the other elves in the face, which kind of explains something that we're going to get into. Long story short, the elf had some sort of virus, disease, something going on here, and it's as we go along, Santa's starting to realize that the other elves are getting sick, and that blood that got all over their faces apparently is what spread it. So it's like these elves are coming back to life. And I don't even know that I can do this step by step like I did the other ones. Yeah, these zombie elves are just coming after Santa. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And Santa is fucking these elves up.
And yeah, Santa is a badass because Santa goes walking into the office, I guess, where Mrs. Claus is, and you see him just sharpening his, like, that big scepter
staff,
or whatever you want to call
like
it. Staff
yeah,
he's got.
Scepter. There you go.
He's sharpening it on the fireplace. I'm like, Santa's about to go ballistic on somebody. What's going on here? And this isn't like your fat ho 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 jolly Santa. This guy's like a big ass badass jacked Santa Claus.
Yes, yeah, he is. I mean, he looks like Santa, but at the same time, he's not like obese. So he's just fucking up these elves, and I can't do this justice other than to say that it's just a fun romp through him working his way through his workshop, beating the shit out of all these elves. This is the most gory parts of the movie is when he's fucking these elves up, cutting their heads off, smashing other elves with their own heads. These elves try to get into the elevator with him and attack them. He fucks them up. And then he's killed all the elves. And he comes to Mrs. Claus and he finds out she's sick too. And he has to kill her, which is kind of sad. But I'll tell you what, Mrs. Claus was not what I think of as Mrs. Claus. She was kind of young and not what I think of. So that was kind of interesting. And then we get... Yeah, exactly. She didn't look like any Mrs. Claus I've ever seen. Santa Claus is like dating young. What an old pervert.
My favorite with the elves, though, was all the one-liners and stuff as the elves are attacking and all the stuff they're saying.
So angry.
Like, if you listen,
I'm going to shove it up your rosy red ass.
Yeah, just the little things they say, and while all this horror and gore and, like, just massacre is going on, I'm laughing my ass off because of the stuff they're saying. And
it reminds me so much of like Evil Dead 2. That's what it reminds me of. Not so much Evil Dead, a little bit, but Evil Dead 2 is what I think of.
Right.
Because of it's just Santa. All that had to have was Santa saying groovy and all that. You know, just becoming Bruce Campbell. But Santa himself was not. He didn't need to be the comedy act because the elves were that for him. I mean, these elves. I'm telling you, if you have not seen this movie. I mean, even if you don't like the other stories, you'll laugh at this shit. And I have to tell you, when you see the box cover for this movie, you get two lines of thought. The first line of thought is sweet, Krampus versus Santa Claus. The other line of thought is, this is Sharknado. You know what I mean? This is B-movie nonsense. But that's not what we get. Now, the Santa's Elves story is kind of that, but it's intentionally that. It's not because they're fuck-ups and they don't know how to tell a story. They're telling an interesting story, but it's funny. Santa gets to the part...
comic relief in it.
Santa kills all the characters, or all the elves. He kills his wife, unfortunately, and then he runs into Krampus. And basically what we get is that Krampus caused all this. And this is where shit goes off the rails, but in a good way, in my opinion. So Santa is about to take out Krampus after a battle. No, me either. And that's something I'll get into here with you in just a second. Him and Krampus go to war. They have a fucking fight. Like, Krampus is the anti-Christmas, and Santa is all about Christmas. And they have a fight,
for this one.
and Santa whoops his ass.
Like celebrity death match.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was like Freddy versus Jason. Place your bets. So Santa and Krampus, they go to battle, and Santa fucks him up. And Santa's just about to do the death blow. And just as he's, like, raised his staff to take out Krampus, Krampus talks like a normal human and says, "Norman, please don't kill me." And he's like, "What?" who's Norman? And then we get what's actually happening. This is a fantasy by story.